2025 Aehra EV SUV First Look Review. World-class designers just need a factory. Italian EV startup plans to make cars the way Apple makes iPhones. Another week, another new EV from a company no one's ever heard of. The twist this time is it's not from China. Aehra Automobili is based in Milan, the city in northern Italy that gave the world carmakers like Alfa Romeo and Carrozzeria like Touring, each responsible for some of the most beautiful and desirable automobiles ever built. And one look at the 2025 Aehra 01 all-electric SUV reveals an EV with more than a dash of Milanese flair. The SUV, it has no model name, but since we know more vehicles are coming, we'll label it 01 for now, has a cab-forward profile that's even more extreme than that of the Mercedes-Benz EQS and EQE, a profile defined by a clean arc that stretches from the leading edge of the hood to the tip of the trunk. But unlike both Benzes, the pugnacious Aehra doesn't resemble an aero blob. There's a tension in its surfacing and stance that makes it look much more muscular and athletic. From the awkwardly apparent B-pillar forward it's pure supercar, towards the rear it swoops like a GT. A mix of Alfa, Lambo, Ital design, and Genesis. That's no surprise, perhaps, given the Aehra. Its pronounced Aehra design team is headed by Italians Filippo Perini and Alessandro Serra, who both worked at Alfa Romeo and Lamborghini. Serra designed the Reventon, before moving to Ital design and then to the European design studio for Genesis. The SUV is the first of two EVs under development at Aehra. A sedan will be unveiled in February next year, and the company says first deliveries of both models will begin in the second half of 2025, less than 3 years from now. That sounds an impossible timeline given that at this stage the Aehra SUV exists only as the full-scale model seen here. There are no running prototypes, and no look at the interior just yet. The company doesn't have a chief engineer and hasn't even decided on the suppliers of key components such as e-motors and battery packs, nor even where its vehicles will be built. It's the Apple model of outsourcing production. Like Apple, which has all its products made by third parties, Aehra will own the intellectual property behind its vehicles, not the means to produce them or their key components. We think that the electric powertrain is leading into that direction, says Nada. What categorizes or characterizes a vehicle is the design, the way the user interfaces with it, the emotions it expresses, and the functionalities it allows the end user. The other elements come from components that are becoming commodities. Nada, an Italian-born mathematician and physicist turned commodities trader, knows the traditional auto industry model requires eye-watering capital investments. Aside from the costs of designing, engineering and developing a new vehicle, establishing a car factory from the ground up easily costs at least $1.3 billion if not far more, and it takes 2 to 3 years before it's ready to produce a single vehicle. But Nada believes the Apple model will enable his auto company to put 2 vehicles on the market by late 2025 for a total capital expenditure of just $750 million, including all development costs.